Welcome back. We have obviously heightened tensions with Iran. Just 7 months after, you remember, Operation Midnight Hammer striking those nuclear sites, all indications suggest that Iran has not stopped trying to enrich uranium for a bomb. Now, let's start with the very latest. You can see the protest started yesterday. Again, students en masse turning out at universities in cities across Iran, fighting for their freedom, fighting against Ayatollah Khomeini and his Islamic regime. Now, all during this latest period, we have had the negotiations going on with Steve Witkoff, Jared Kushner, the president saying that they've been good, but yet we have not seen anything but defiance from the Islamic regime in their willingness on these points. First and foremost, to end the nuclear enrichment. Reports suggest that they have crossed that 60%, which Witkoff says they could have a weapons-grade uranium in about a week. Very dangerous. They also want limits on ballistic missiles and an end to proxy support. So when we talk about what a strike might look like, and obviously the president has not told us what that would look like, but we know that the ballistic missile sites could possibly be in the targeting. They were not back when they struck the nuclear sites. Now they are a threat. And you can see, obviously, the short-range missiles inside the vicinity just west of Iran. And, of course, the medium-range missiles brings that circle out even more. Now, President Trump, you remember, promised to get involved back in January if these protesters continue to get cracked down. Listen here.
Iran's in big trouble. It looks to me that the people are taking over certain cities that nobody thought were really possible just a few weeks ago. We're watching the situation very carefully. I've made the statement very strongly that if they start killing people like they have in the past, we will get involved.
Let's bring in former State Department Deputy Special Envoy under President Trump, Ellie Cohanim. Ellie, thanks for being here. And, you know, you saw I just sort of set up how we got here in these protests, obviously getting active again. What do you make of this?
Griff, it's good to be with you. And as your reporting shows, we see university students and other Iranian protesters are out on the streets right now as we speak. And unfortunately, I've seen footage where the regime, again, is using live ammunition on protesters. It seems the killing is continuing. And the Iranian people are showing us that they are our best partners in confronting this regime. But Griff, you know, what I think is the key point to consider is how we got to the moment we're in, which is that Operation Midnight Hammer, that bold action that President Trump took against Iran's nuclear program, came also at the kind of the end of what was a 12-day war. But the 12-day war could have been the 25-day war. It could have been the 30-day war. The Iranians came to the United States and they cried for mercy. And I think they made certain promises in order to get President Trump's mercy at that time. And what they should have done at that point, after the end of hostilities, was to pivot. They should have turned to governing the country, to restoring their economy, to giving services to their citizens. Instead, what they did, they are completely unrepentant, is that they went right back to rebuilding their nuclear program, and they went right back to rebuilding their missile program. So the key here, Griff, is that this regime is a radical Shia revolutionary regime. As you mentioned, I was born in Iran myself, and I'm very familiar with this ideology. And so that's why, even as the Trump administration is offering this regime diplomacy right now, you're seeing in them this stubbornness, because they are radical Shia revolutionaries, and they're led by this 86-year-old supreme leader who is willing to martyr himself and the country rather than to give in to what he considers as the big Satan.
And, you know, Ellie, you talk about this Islamic regime being stubborn. Steve Witkoff was with our colleague Laura Trump last night and spoke about those frustrations. Listen here.
The president asked me that this morning, and I don't want to use the word frustrated. It's almost because he understands he's got plenty of alternatives. But it's curious. He's curious as to why they haven't. I don't want to use the word capitulated, but why they haven't capitulated. Why under this sort of pressure with the amount of sea power, naval power that we have over there, why they haven't come to us and said, we profess that we don't want a weapon, so here's what we're prepared to do, and yet it's hard to sort of get them to that place.
So clearly, Ellie, as you point out, the negotiations seem to be stubborn and frustrated at best. We know the president has said that we could see whether or not there's a strike, 10 to 15 days time frame. This is the question Americans are asking themselves, Ellie, and I ask it to you. Why should Americans care if we do indeed strike Iran? Why should we take this action?
There's so much to care about here. You know, Griff, for 47 years, this regime has undermined U.S. national security. They have the blood of thousands of American service members on their hands. They have penetrated Latin America, our doorstep, through Hezbollah, which we saw in Venezuela, part of the U.S. decision to take bold action there. They have sprinted towards the nuclear program, and so all of those and the destabilizing activity in the Middle East. But also, I want to point out that they have strengthened our adversaries. They have supplied cheap oil to China. They've supplied drones and UAVs and all kinds of missiles to Russia in its war in Ukraine, which we are trying to broker a deal, but we've also been fighting that war indirectly as well. So you put all of those factors together, and I have to say our adversaries are watching us right now. They're watching to see, does the United States just talk tough, but are we as soft as the Europeans in our reaction to the Islamic Republic right now? The president right now has a historic opportunity in front of him. The Armada is there. He has brought in incredible levels of assets in the region, both offensive and defensive capabilities right now, so we can achieve our objectives both offensively while defending our assets and our allies in the region. He's got everything set up right now, Griff. And so, you know, I believe that the president, certainly as commander-in-chief, understands that this is a historic opportunity to show peace through strength, to show that the American people have mettle, that we understand that we do not want this national security threat, which is, again, this is a radical Shia revolutionary regime that for 47 years has been trying to sprint to the nuclear bomb, right? Is this a problem that President Trump wants to kick down the road for our children and grandchildren to have to deal with? I don't see that. I think he's the strongest president we've ever had, and I think that he wants to make sure his legacy is to ensure our safety and security.
We've got to leave it there, but you make great points there. Ellie Cohanim, thank you very much for taking time.
Thank you.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.